So I don't think this is going to make a lot of sense to begin with, but I'm working on some projects. I have 7 sites that I'm developing. Boon Bane Bonk Bone Boof Honk Lore. This one's a development site for Boonland. And the idea is that each of these sites are going to feel kind of like trick or treating, where you bring your data to them and something happens per day that allows you to interact with it in a way that's unique specifically towards the time that you access it and the ways that you do. I'm using a language called UAL. Originally, this was Unified AI Language, but through conversations with ChatGPT, the acronym evolved to Unified Augmentation Language, which I think is a bit better. Originally, the language was called Swoop, and it was meant to be more literally a programming language, like useful for computer settings, but it's more helpful in augmenting natural language, I would say. Because there are a lot of different programming languages, and using those is probably better for programming purposes because they do things that have been tested by thousands of people over decades. I'm not trying to enter that space. I think that Go and Rust are really interesting. I want to learn those as backend languages. Python is something that I've used pretty consistently throughout my career. I was hired for PHP, and that's something that I respect for what it does. HTML, CSS, and JavaScript are cool web languages. The markup languages like HTML and SVG are pretty interesting for what they can do. And I feel like SVG is going to be especially interesting for using Stable Diffusion. Do I have a Stable Diffusion window open? I don't. Anyways, that's not the point of Swoop. The point of Swoop is to describe where things happen and what relates to those structures. So, just for an example, I have one here. Let me turn on. Can I? I think this is Vim. It actually wasn't Vim. This is a gist on GitHub. But the idea is with these examples to describe a setting, home, which is cold and dark, my perspective, having the essence of hungry, evaluating the fridge, then invokes me having the perspective, having the essence of I wish this were not empty. In the space where we're expressing disagreement, this is defining something at night. Me looking at a color has the essence of purple, and my friend looking at a color has the essence of purple. So those are one situation. Then during the day, me looking at a color has the essence of red, and my friend looking at a color has the essence of purple. So this is very small. This isn't necessarily saying too much, but if I were to say, let's plug this into ChatGPT, I'm going to just do that here. Then I'm going to ask, why might we disagree? So, in the context of disagreeing about color, looking at perception, context, emotional association, and communication, this has factors that might lead to different opinions about colors between friends at different times of the day. So, this is a language that's meant to be loosely cohesive. I think that's been specified. It's not meant to be fully understood, but used to mark language cohesively. Should be used sporadically to clarify relationships. Internal cohesion. So that seed has evolved a bit, and this is intentionally meant to be subject oriented. So as two people are communicating, they might say, okay, so we're looking at a color. You might say, you at something has the essence of whatever you see. Me at something, whatever I see. Yeah. And the idea behind having, where is that? The idea behind having this underscore is that it would augment the operator that comes before it. So the definitional space that we're in has night. That is the space that we're introducing here. And then day is a different definitional space. Now, it's up to either of us to distinguish between conceptual space and definitional space. But the basic idea is that conceptual space exists in our minds and definitional space or realized space exists with respect to the perspectives that are involved. If I'm the only perspective that I'm referring to, I don't need to distinguish concepts from definitions because all of the concepts that I interact with are definitions. But if I'm talking to somebody else, I need to be able to say, hey, so we both agree that it's night. That is fundamentally something that we're accepting as true. Or we both agree that it's day. And that's something that we both accept is definitionally true. But within that space, we are both saying different things about this color. Me looking at that color says that it's purple. Friend looking at this color says that it's purple at night. And during the day, I say that it's red, and my friend still thinks that it's purple. There are a variety of reasons why this might happen, etc. But one of the ideas that I have is that as you go to each of these sites, you would upload a string like this, expressing disagreement, night, me, color, friend, color, day, me, color, friend, color, etc. And each of these sites would just do a string replacement. So instead of expressing disagreement, you could probably do a string replacement on the phrase expressing disagreement. Should be in parentheses technically, but this is loosely cohesive. Still working on it. And then it would change. Like I could replace this in Boonland with finding new ways to see things, for example. And that would be fundamentally the thing that happens. And then in Loreland, we would combine all of these concepts into something that can be understood.